And we just barely turned it on there. Hello, everybody. All right. So I hope everybody's having a good week thus far. Um, we're, of course, so it's Tuesday, May the 2nd, um, 2023. So I hope everybody's having a good week thus far. While as we're waiting for more people to show up, I'm going to go ahead and go off camera for a quick moment, take care of some things, and then when I come back, we'll talk about what we'll be talking about tonight, going over tonight. So, with that, let me just go ahead and put some music on while I'm going. Right, I'm back. Let me just take care of a couple more things here real quick. All right, so there we go. Anyways, we so so here's what's going on for tonight. I'm going to be going over 3 articles, 2 from Bounding into Comics and one from one from Bleeding Fool. Um, among the things, of course, we're going to be talking about with those include so Chainsaw Man's mangaka Tatsuki Fujimoto confesses to having once eaten a pet fish instead of burying it. Okay, gonna see how that let's see what that's all about. Also, Marvel and DC writer Shannon Hale on Utah. It's just too white. And then we'll also a big story that I guess has come out, and I'm going to go to Bleeding Full on that one. IDW continues to its stock continues to plummet as it's been delisted from the New York Stock Exchange. That plus the wrestling wrap up, and we're going to talk a little bit about, of course, some of the upcoming pay per views, including this Saturday's Backlash from WWE. The next few pay per views coming up for some of the major companies around the country. Plus, we'll, as always, finish off the night with this day in each history. So with that, we're now just past the 4 minute mark here. So probably give it just a little about a few seconds more, and then we'll probably get into going into getting into the show, the contents of the show. So, also, if you guys can, if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, then we get some more friendly people on. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything we talk about grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions. I will do the best I can to answer the questions to the best of my ability. And with that, we're coming up on 5 minutes, so we'll go ahead and get going here. Get to our first article here. All right, so here we go. So here's the first article we're going to look at here. All right, so Chainsaw Man mangaka Tatsuki Fujimoto confesses to having once eaten a pet fish instead of burying it. Ah, no wonder this guy's writing stuff like Chainsaw Man. Ah, proving to be quite a carnivore, isn't he? Um, article by Nerdigans Inc. Published um, published April 29th, 2023, which was this past Saturday, in the realm of manga. So let's take a look at this. So whether it's the latest manga chapter, insanely low Japanese anime Blu-ray sales, or the mangaka's odd Twitter shenanigans, social media is always buzzing about Tatsuki Fujimoto's Chainsaw Man. This time, however, social media has been set ablaze by the series creator's bizarre confession that he once opted to eat a dead pet fish rather than bury it. Okay, that's kind of a little odd. But you know, the story in question, which occurred at a time when he and his girlfriend were in a less than ideal living situation, was recalled by Fujimoto in the author notes section of Viz Media's English release of the mangaka's Tatsuki Fujimoto Before Chainsaw Man, 22 to 26 one shot collection. Speaking to some of the struggles he experienced while pursuing his dreams, Fujimoto recounted to readers how, quote, until the age of 24 or so, I lived with my girlfriend in a 15,000 yen a month apartment in Yamagata, unquote. Despite the couple being relatively poor, the mangaka noted that they, quote, had a pet Japanese rice fish, unquote, until he unfortunately, quote, found it dead one summer, unquote. Yeah, you wake up and there's no bubbles coming out of the water, and you notice the goldfish is upside down. Hmm. See if anybody's here saying anything yet. Nope, guess not. All right, so here we go. Continuing on. Fujimoto then goes into a detailed confession on how he ultimately was given no choice but to eat their deceased pet Japanese rice fish behind his girlfriend's back. Oh boy. Yeah, I wonder how that relationship would have ended if she had found out at the time that he did that. Some people might find that a bit morose. However, when he went when he went to toss its body into the trash, like in Parasite, unquote, his girlfriend instead, quote, said she wanted me to bury it. So off I went to bury it in the park alone, unquote. Hmm. Quote, I tried to bury it under the big tree. but the ground was too hard, unquote. Um, said mangaka. Quote, as I watched it for a little while, ants found the body and began trying to carry it away. Hmm. According to him, it was at that moment that he decided to skip the burial and instead consume the fish. Um, quote, I'm not sure what came over me, unquote, admitted Fujimoto. Um, quote, but in that moment, love for that pet fish welled within me. For the first time, I brushed the ants away and then ate it. Okay, so not only did he his fish has probably been obviously on the ground. Um, ants are getting on it. Probably not the most sanitary of items to put into your mouth. Surprised the guy didn't have some health problems after that. Ultimately, consuming the dead raw Japanese rice fish resulted in Fujimoto getting a nasty case of food poisoning. Oh, okay, so he did have some. He did have. He did have some some regrettable thing happen there. In turn, he told a small white lie to his girlfriend about the actual cause of his ailment. With the Fire Punch mangaka confessing, so I guess he did Fire Punch as well. Confessing that throughout, he has a tendency to lie as a defense mechanism. Quote, when frightened or under pressure, unquote. Despite somehow getting away with this white lie, Fujimoto decided to confess to his quote unquote crime, in smaller quotes rather, in order to absolve himself of the guilt that in the years since had been causing more mental turmoil within him than the food poisoning he got from the fish. Yeah. Wow. He was still torn up over. I mean, well, at least the guy seems human. He doesn't seem. I guess he's not a sociopath, at least, right? uh, but I don't know. Would a lot of people really be that upset about that? Now that this is coming out, I wonder how that if he's still with that girlfriend, and two, what she thinks about it, whether or not she's still with him. Quote, that brings us to now, unquote, he concluded. Quote, the memory of lying to my girlfriend is far stronger than the guilt of eating our pet fish. Ah, okay. So the mental turmoil was lying to his girlfriend. That's what it was. All right. That could make a little more sense. Please allow me to confess my sin here. Yeah, confess it to the whole world instead of just your girlfriend there, dude. Kind of out there, but hey, what have you? More power to you, right? Um, simulpubs of the latest chapters. Okay, again, let me. Yes, I did skip over. That's my sin here. Unquote. That's all I forgot to say is unquote. Um, simulpubs. And my guess is simulpubs are, of course, um, similar to simulcast. In other words, published on two sites at the same time. Of the latest chapters of Fujimoto's Chainsaw Man manga drop every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on Shueisha's official Manga Plus and Viz Media Shonen Jump apps. So, anyway, so that's an interesting little confession there. Again, I wonder one if he's still with that girl, and two, if they are, even if they're not together, what her reaction to all this is if she happens to be reading this. It would be kind of an interesting little human interest take to see what's all going down there. So, anyways, now we're gonna get ready, of course, to move on to the second of the articles here. As soon as they do some. All right. All right. So let's see now. Just want to see the time. Okay, just past 16 minutes here. Okay. All right. So here's the second article we're gonna look at here. All right. Marvel and DC writer Shannon Hale on Utah. Um, it's just too white in quotes there. I wonder what this is all about because I've kind of seen headlines about this, but just didn't pay too much attention to it till now. So, article by John F. Trent published yesterday. Marvel Comics and DC writer Shannon Hale, better known for her Princess Academy novel series, recently opined that Utah is too white. I wonder if she is she talking about. I wonder if she talking about the state of Utah, or is she talking about like a book that came out about it? Well, I mean, she could theoretically be talking about, of course, the climate too. Could say that it is part of the Rocky Mountain region and probably does get a lot of snow. So, but I doubt if that's the case. But anyways, let's go ahead and continue on with the article here. So I get this little bug off my screen here. Oops, didn't need to do that. All right, so um, Hale penned the graphic novels Diana and Nubia, princesses of the Amazons, and Diana, Princess of the Amazons, for DC and the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, Squirrel Meets World, and the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl 2, Fuzzy Too Furious for what were those last two supposed to be parodies of stuff going on in the real world or something like that? Hale made her comments about Utah in a recent sit-down with Mistborn novelist Brandon Sanderson, as the two discussed the best food in Utah. So I guess she's talking about Utah. Now, mind you, remember Utah is also known for being the Mormon state. So um, just a little FYI there. After Sanderson shared his thoughts on why he believes Utah food is better than Nebraska at around the 338 mark, Hale opined that Utah was too white. She said, quote, for being a state that's 83% white, which is just so, it's just too white. But we do have a lot of international foods here for all of that. I mean, now in a way that almost sounds kind of racist. That's almost like saying any state is like too. That's you know. Granted, it's probably not. I can see now why there have been a few headlines about it. Because that I mean, um, if somebody was to say like one of the southern states was too black, then you'd have you'd hear a lot more people up in arms about it, or like San Francisco's too Asian, or what have you. It's kind of a ridiculous statement to say in the first place, but that that's kind of what you have. Hale's comments are repugnant. There is nothing wrong with being born white, and there is nothing wrong with the state of Utah having a high density of people being white. The state of Utah is not "quote unquote" too white. Yeah, I mean, and I kind of agree with that statement. I think a lot of people would agree with that statement. Okay, and I did see there were a few headlines about it recently. Give me a moment. I'm going to go off camera here for a quick moment. I'll be right back. Hey, Woody. Who's this stunning and beautiful female presenting person? Her name's Shannon Hale, Woody. She's a DC and Marvel writer. Apparently, she's written some of the features she's have included Wonder Woman, in terms of Diana and Nubia, and Squirrel Girl for Marvel. Lamanite sheesh. Yeah. Anyways, I need to go off camera here for a quick moment, so I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Anyways, yeah, Woody. I mean, that's kind of in a way, it. She's actually acting like the racist that many people, um, you know, um, you know, I don't even think she understands just how racist that sounds. You know, I have seen a few headlines on this. I just hadn't really picked up on the story until now. Um, but there'd be a lot more. There'd be a lot more hell to pay if somebody said, like, let's say somebody said like Jackson, Mississippi, or Montgomery, Alabama was too black, or if somebody was to say that San Francisco was too Asian, or if somebody were to say like El Paso, Texas was too brown, too yellow, too brown, too black, um, it's just outright stupid, you know. But as I said, guys, and if you haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people on here. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Anyways, nevertheless, Hale couldn't even get her facts right. According to the United Census Bureau, Utah's population demographics show the state is 77.2% white only. not Hispanic or Latino. White only, 77.2% white alone. Not, in other words, that's not counting the Hispanics and Latinos who happen to be of lighter skin tone as well. If you look at the white alone demographic, it's at 90.3%. Um, um, that doesn't seem to make much sense to me, but Hale's comments do not seem to be out of character for her. A brief look at her Twitter feed shows similar comments. So she sounds like basically what they're trying to point out here. I guess we're going to see some evidence here. This girl apparently has got the woke syndrome. Has got the, um, got to push identity politics every chance you get. A virtue signal to be cool. In March 2020, she tweeted, quote, "White men in the country for a couple hundred years. We will do everything. In fact, we will make it illegal for women and non-white men to vote or have any authority whatsoever. It's all us. Also, white men, you can't blame everything bad that happened on white men." Hmm. Hale also defamed Kyle Rittenhouse, who defended himself when he was repeatedly attacked by violent criminals in Wisconsin. She described him as a, quote, "white supremacy radicalized boy," unquote. Mm-hmm. She tweeted in September 2020, quote, "A white supremacy radicalized boy who went to another town with people hunting guns, um, with the intent to use them, and is charged with murdering two humans versus a girl who pleads with people to protect the earth. GOP, this is who you want to be." Um, people who were rioting in towns. So he wasn't exactly going off to kill people as much. He was defending himself against people who were violent criminals, young lady. In December 2020, she seemingly indicated that the United States of America, um, uh, all right, that statement doesn't make. Oh, I guess this is she was responding to something to congressional candidate said. Hale is also a supporter of Black Lives Matter, so she's definitely an SJW here, people. She is also a supporter of Black Lives Matter. So she's in support of terrorist groups like Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Okay, so um, at the end of May 2020, she tweeted, quote, "Lay the batons down, throw out the paramilitary gear. Tanks don't belong in our streets. There's horrific injustice. Acknowledge it. Listen. Walk behind BML leaders. Walk beside your community. This will take. Don't suppress. Support." Hale still has the hashtag BLM in her profile to this day as well. Even though, from what I understand, BLM has been since discredited because it's been found that um, much of its leadership has been fleecing the flock, as it were. That's one of the things I had heard a while back. But anyways, for those unfamiliar with Black Lives Matter, the organization was founded by self-proclaimed Marxist. One of the organization's founders, Patrice Cullors, stated, quote, "The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia, in particular, are trained organizers," unquote. Yeah. Remember, Marxists are the people who influenced communism enough to cause them to riot and revolt in Russia and landed Russia in the hands of communist rule for the past 100 years or so. So we are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories, and I think that we really tried to do is build a movement that can be utilized by many, many black folk. Unquote. The Black Lives Matter organization also made it clear that they have a goal to, quote, to dismantle cisgender privilege and uplift black folks, especially black trans women, who continue to be disproportionately impacted by trans antagonistic violence. So basically, in English, they're admitting to being terrorists here. They're admitting to being terrorists and having terroristic goals instead of embracing the great melting pot theory that was put in the first place. But they also want to disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and quote unquote villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. Unquote. What do you make of Hale's comments about Utah being too white? I think they're stupid. I think they're repugnant, and I do think they're racist. So let's see. Woody may have something to say here. Let's see what Woody has to say. Say fleece a flock of folk 3 times man. Fleece a flock of folk. Fleece a flock of folk. Fleece a flock of folk. Okay. So fleece a flock of folk. Fleece a flock of folk. Fleece a flock of folk. I just visited my sis. She still has a gender. Yep. Yeah, I mean, what she said here is racist. Shannon Hale said here is racist. Anyways, we're now going to get ready to move on to the third story that we're going to cover tonight. We're going to head over to Bleeding Full and cover its version of it. All right, so here's our, and I know that this has been getting talked a lot about. Laugh out loud, thank you. No problem, Woody. You know, I can give it a try at least. Even if it's not perfect. Anyways, IDW delisted from New York Stock Exchange as they lay off even more staff. Avi Green, this came from Avi Green. This was published back on the 30th, so on Sunday. So, and we've been hearing about IDW troubles for the last couple years. I know Tug's done a few stories on it, before. So let's get into this. IDW Publishing's been suffering quite a few losses in the past number of years due to their own wokeness, and as Deadline Hollywood reports, they're now losing value on the stock market and shedding more employees. Well, we do know that basically last year they lost the Transformers and GI Joe licenses. I do know that. So IDW Media Holdings, the company that includes a prominent comics division and an entertainment division behind such series as Sci-Fi's Winona Earp, BBC America, Netflix's Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, and Netflix's Lock and Key, said Thursday it is undergoing cost-cutting measures, including reducing its workforce by more than a third, delisting from the New York Stock Exchange, and making changes to senior management in response to operational challenges. Unquote. Um, that's code for we're not making as much money as we're spending. That's what I think that's code for. Pretty sure many of you would probably agree with me on that, in fact. Leaving are Paul Davidson, Executive Vice President, Head of IDW Media's entertainment division, along with the majority of the entertainment team, as well as the head of publishing, Nachi Marsham, Deadline has learned. Overall, the layoffs will impact 39% of IDW's current workforce. Now, that's almost 40%. That's almost 2/5 of their workforce right there. That's more than just over a third. That's almost 2/5 right there. Which the company said will eventually deliver $4.4 million in annual savings. As for the stock, IDW board plans to deregister its Class B common stock and delist it from the New York Stock Exchange. Expecting the move to take effect by May 18th, the company said it intends to file an application for its Class B common stock to be quoted on the OTCQB platforms as soon as practicable. Unquote. I don't know what all that means, but anyways, as we continue on here, they claim it'll help them recover, but seeing how they lost licenses to publish comics based on G.I. Joe and Transformers and adaptations of merchandise took up a considerable amount of their publishing slate and have damaged their brand with wokeness to boot. That's why, unless they're willing to turn around and be less PC, their chances of recovery are very thin. In fact, when you have too much licensed merchandise as a way of running a business, that's why the company is hardly a loss. A similar argument could be made for how they did business with woke Netflix. IDW is done. Yeah, that's pretty much been a consensus for the last year or so. I think even Tug had pointed that out on a few occasions. So, anyways, let's see where we're at on time here. That was a pretty quick article. Let's see. We're coming up on 40 minutes, so we actually made some good time there. So, anyways, now with that, I guess we'll start going to the wrestling wrap up here a bit. All right. So with that, let me see. So the WWE had its draft last night. Of course, had the second day of its draft last night. Um, and there are some people moving around a bit here and there. Um, and due to some of the people moving from one brand to another, it's been a little bit chaotic with the title scene and all that. As Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair have both switched brands, so Bianca's now on SmackDown and Rhea Ripley's on Raw now. So does that mean that Rhea Ripley is now the Raw Women's Champion and Bianca Belair is the SmackDown Women's Champion? As it were, they did make a big point about the idea that WWE does tend to draft marital partners together. Those who are married or going to be married soon to the same brand. So I guess that's to avoid the situation they had a few years ago with Matt Hardy and Lita and Edge, by having married couples on the same brand. Just check something here. Actually, I guess I don't even need to do that. You can just go back to. So let's see. What was it last night? All right. So yeah, I'm just taking a look at some stuff because I thought I saw. Okay, I guess not. Anyways, so yeah, so basically on last night's Raw, many of the matches were considered kind of short. Bailey and Dakota Kai of Damage Control defeated uh, women's tag team champions Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Braun Strowman and Ricochet defeated Alpha Academy. Matt Riddle with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in their corner. Um, Matt Riddle with the WWE with the WWE Tag Team Champions Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in his corner. Did Jimmy Uso with Jay in his corner. Almost defeated Anthony Alanis. The Judgment Day of Damian Priest, Dominic Mysterio, and Rhea Ripley defeated the LWO of Rey Mysterio, Santos Escobar, and Zelina Vega. And Seth Rollins defeated Solo Sikoa via DQ. So all this is, of course, is leading to this Saturday's Backlash pay-per-view. So at this Saturday's Backlash pay-per-view, as I mentioned last night, of course, main event, you're going to see Brock Lesnar taking on Cody Rhodes. There are a few others. In fact, maybe I should just go ahead and look that up real quick here. Backlash, which will be this Saturday in San Juan, Puerto Rico, at the Coliseo de Puerto Rico. So the main event is seeing Brock Lesnar taking on Cody Rhodes. You also will have in a six-man tag match the WWE Unified Tag Team Champions of Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, teaming with Matt Riddle, take on the Bloodline of the Uso Brothers and Solo Sikoa. Austin Theory defends the United States title in a triple threat match versus Bobby Lashley and Bronson Reed. Rhea Ripley defends the SmackDown Women's title against Zelina Vega. To open the show, Bianca Belair will be defending the Raw Women's title against Io Sky. Damian Priest of Judgment Day takes on Bad Bunny in a San Juan street fight. Seth Rollins takes on Omos. So that's what's going on for this Saturday's Backlash. So tonight was the Go Home Raw before that, and then of course you're going to have you're going to have you're going to have you're going to have I just hate it when your mind skips a beat. You're going, yeah. So Backlash happening this Saturday. AEW for tomorrow night's Dynamite. As they continue to make, to work towards their pay-per-view on the 28th here. AEW's Double or Nothing comes up Sunday, May 28th in Vegas, I believe. But we'll look first at tomorrow night's Dynamite, as that will have some ramifications on so tomorrow night's Dynamite from Baltimore, I believe. Yep. Tomorrow night's Dynamite, we'll see in the main event, MJF and Sammy Guevara will tag to take on Darby Allin and Jack Perry. Now, they recently had what they called the Four Pillars tournament. These four individuals are the Four Pillars, in which the winner of that tournament would face MJF at Double or Nothing. Sammy Guevara won that tournament. Now, there's been talk put out there by MJF that he's going to have Sammy lie down, take the loss, but take the payday anyways. But Tony Khan, not really looking forward to that kind of possibility, put this tag match together that if MJF and Sammy Guevara win, the match stays as is, Sammy versus MJF. If Darby Allin and Jack Perry can take the win, then then the match at Double or Nothing becomes a fatal four-way for the AEW World Title. So now the thing is, though, is that Allin and Perry both are faces, but they don't necessarily like each other. Even though MJF and Sammy Guevara are heels, they don't necessarily like each other either. But the idea of a possible is still taking a huge payday, even if you take the loss, does seem to appeal to Sammy. But there's these four individuals: MJF, Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, and Jack Perry have been considered the pillars of the company. They've been around since day one, and are the now and the future of the company. Also going on tomorrow night, an 8-man tag match. Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, who made his AEW debut last week, along with Bandito and AEW International Champion Orange Cassidy, all teaming up together to take on Jericho Appreciation Society members of Angelo Parker, Matt Menard, Jake Hager, and Daniel Garcia. Hey, Rick. Thanks for popping in. You guys can also like and share the stream. See if we get some more friendly people in here. That'd be, and if anything I mentioned grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. So, I know, Rick, you're going to be off to do your show in a moment. So, anyways, also Saraya takes on Willow Nightingale. There's going to be a trios battle royal, what they call a Trade de Mayo, or 3rd of May. That will include the teams of the AEW World, the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, Lucha Brothers, teaming with AAA's Mega Champion El Hijo del Vikingo, taking on the Butcher and the Blade, and Kip Sabian taking on the Acclaimed, and Billy Gunn taking on all 3 members of the Dark Order, taking on all 3 members of QTV, and also taking on all 3 members of the Varsity Athletes. And then the show's supposed to open up with Juice Robinson taking on Ricky Starks. So that seems to be what's going down there. Also, a couple other little notes to put out there for you guys as on Friday, May the 26th, the Friday before AEW's Double or Nothing, there will be another pay-per-view. Impact Wrestling will be having its pay-per-view that night. Under Siege will be happening that night. Already signed, of course, for the Impact World Title. Steve Maclin will be defending against PCO, right now being known as Perfect Creation 1, but also his real name is Pierre Carl Roulette. You all might remember him from his time in the WWE as Pierre of the Quebecers. Also, Deonna Purrazzo defends the Knockout World title against Jordan Grace. And it looks like Trey Miguel will be defending the X Division title against Chris Sabian, who recently got a pinfall victory on Miguel in a trios match, or the 6-man tag match, on a recent edition of Impact. So that's going on. And then coming up on the weekend of June 3rd and 4th, NWA will be having the Crockett Cup. Crockett Cup will be coming up on first weekend of June here. As I understand it, the teams that have qualified for the tournament thus far are Magnum Muscle of Jack Draper and Big Strong Mims, the Savages of Jack Stain and Blake Troop. Now, the Crockett Cup is a tournament, a specialized tag tournament in which, it's more for pride. Last year's winners, of course, were the Briscoe brothers, late Jay and his brother Mark, who had gotten a push after that. So let's see. Also slated to be happening at the Crockett Cup, EC3 defends the national heavyweight title against Silas Mason. Thrillbilly Silas, as he's known in the NWA. So that's pretty much all I got for the wrestling wrap-up. Now, why don't we go ahead and get ready to finish off the show here. Today is Tuesday, May the 2nd, 2023. So why don't we take a look back at this day, Niche history. History! So, anyways, I got some doozies for you tonight. First off, we're going to head back 75 years ago today. As on this date, 75 years ago today, Lee Grable wins the Hawaii Heavyweight Championship from Ted Travis in Honolulu, Hawaii. It was during Grable's reign that the title is renamed the NWA Hawaii Heavyweight Championship. So this is during his reign in which the NWA was formed, and a lot of the territories had come under the control of the NWA. So it was during his reign that the NWA Hawaii, it was the Hawaii Heavyweight title would become the NWA Hawaii Heavyweight title, which of course would be the main title, the top title for NWA's Big Time Wrestling in Hawaii, which eventually became Polynesian Pacific Championship Wrestling in later years. So, yeah, that happened 75 years ago today. Then happening 70 years ago today, back in 1953, as soon as we pull that up. On this date in 1973, the Warner Brothers cartoon Southern Fried Rabbit. Southern Fried Rabbit. From Southern Fried Rabbit, from of course, directed by Isidore Fritz Frayling, premiered on this date back in 1953. It was a Warner Brothers cartoon starring, of course, Bugs Bunny and Yosemite Sam. So, anyways, getting ready to move on from there. And on this date 5 years ago, as we move now to 2018, on this date 5 years ago today, and I can't seem to find the. Oh, there it is. Trouble finding the cursor. All right, so on this date 5 years ago today, the first issue of B&V Friends Forever, featuring Betty and Veronica from RG Comics, went on sale on this date. This is apparently an anthology book. The book is still running, so if you do have an interest in Archie Comics, you can still, buy these books as they're out. But on this date 5 years ago today, the first issue of B&V Friends Forever went on sale on this date back in 2018. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. We had quite a few topics to go over. So with that, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Also, don't forget this Friday, RJ Carter will be co-hosting with me as we will be looking back to comics that went on sale in October 1939. We'll be looking at comics that went on sale from Dell Comics and Harvey Comics. Well, the companies that would eventually become Harvey Comics, Brookwood and Worth Carnahan. We'll be looking at, of course, the third issue of Speed Comics. And technically it's the first issue, but it's actually numbered as issue number 2 of Champion Comics from Worth Carnahan. So with that, I hope everybody enjoyed the show, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow for more niche news. And with that, I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.